Generation 1, 1999 until 2006. Generation 2, 2006 until 2013. Generation 3, 2013 until 2018. And here it is, the fourth generation of the BMW X5. We will take you on a detailed tour of the exterior, the interior and the driving experience on-road and off-road. Here with the most common engine you will probably also buy. And of course talking about the changes to the predecessor generation. You have already seen the changes throughout the generations. This one here has the biggest double kidney ever. Also with those adaptive fins, the inner ones will open when the engine needs more air. And those headlamps are more horizontally drawn. They start with LED from standard equipment, optional adaptive LED for the cornering. Then those ones here are the laser lights. They have the high beam function for about 600 meters range, but in US it will be half of the range due to regulation. 4 meters 92 or 16 foot 1 is the total length of the new generation X5, and it is actually 6 centimeters wider, and here in the length it's 4 centimeters, so just a little bit longer, so not so many changes. The rims start with 18-inch, those ones are 21-inch, 22 is the maximum. Then there's a base trim level and the X-Line. This one here is the X-Line. They have those plastic wheel fenders, still the off-road look. We've been off-roading here today already, therefore it's not super clean. I will soon also show you the M Sport. That one then has painted wheel arches and also lower bumper is painted. You will soon be able to compare that. Then, more subtle lines. Here's a dropping line dividing in light and shadow. Overall, a rather conservative design. Now looking at the rear, rather an evolutionary step, but those taillights are new, three-dimensional frame and also horizontally drawn as well. It appears wider, and as I said earlier, it's also 6 centimeters wider overall in the chassis. Then the lower part has this contrast lower bumper and those fake exhaust tips around it. The 40i exhaust. 40i will be the most common end. You start with a base suspension, base steel suspension. Then you can go for the air suspension, which we have today. You can put it up and down a little bit depending on the speed. 8 centimeters is the difference then from the top to the bottom part. And then there's an adaptive M suspension, so there's not an air suspension, but an adaptive one that goes, in a wider span between sportiness and comfort. And this is how the new X5 looks in white with black rims and off-road tires. Those black rims, by the way, also 20-inch. And to show you an individual color, this one here is beige, but the reason I'm showing you this vehicle is not only because of the color. This one here is the M Sport. So this trim line here, you can see, has those painted wheel arches in contrast to the plastic wheel arches we've seen with the X-Line, or which we have also in the base trim level. Engines, no 4-cylinder whatsoever. So for the diesel side, you have a 3-liter 6-cylinder, either with 265 or 400 horsepower. The latter one then in the M50D. Or today, this engine will be the worldwide bestseller. This is the 3-liter 6-cylinder turbo petrol engine. In this case here with 340 horsepower. And then there's also, not in Europe, not in Germany, but in the US, for example, there will be the 4.4-liter V8, the strongest one. This one then with 462 horsepower. And the acceleration figures for this one here, 5.5 seconds to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. And then there will be this one, the 45e. This one will be the plug-in hybrid coming up soon. Not yet available for driving, but we'll keep you updated on that. On the inside of the doors we have sensor tech, that's leather red. There are two different steering wheels available, a normal comfortable one and the sports steering wheel. This one is the normal comfort steering wheel. Then there are also two different seat forms. There's a comfort seat and there's also a sports seat. So two seat forms, and they both start with a sensor tech surface in black or beige worldwide, also in Europe. And this one here and then is the optional animal skin surface for extra money, but the SensorTech is very popular in the US, especially, for example. It is of course somewhat similar as in the predecessor generation, maybe a little bit more roomish. So you have the panoramic roof right there inbuilt, the standard in the US. Still have some headroom left. Is the interior overview. You can see the biggest changes for sure, that you have those two 12.3-inch screens, left and right, both the same size, although they look quite different. It is very well integrated now. It stands out, of course, a little bit that you can better see it. Then very flat surfaces all around here that don't stick out too much. Again, here matte wood is being used. So you can hear how, let's say, natural and rough it feels, but really cool, definitely. Then you can see this a small black screen. When I soon turn on the engine, then you will also see the climate unit right there, because that's all built right in there. So that don't only trust on the touch screens, there are still some manual buttons left, also for the volume, for example. Here we go with the AC, so I even don't have to turn on the engine for that. So we can change the vent strength, for example, right here, then the temperature on the left side. So the screen, it can be controlled with touch. Let's go back to the home screen first. There we go. For example, the GPS looks quite cool, but you can still use this lower turning knob as you are used to. This lower area has also been redesigned. It is also available with a classic gear shifter. This one here is the crystal package with this glass work shifting lever, but you could also get another one. And a lot of hotkey buttons in the lower part. This can be a little bit confusing. And when I press this voice activation button at the steering wheel, I can, for example, say set temperature to 75 degrees.
I'm setting the temperature at the driver's side at 75 degrees Fahrenheit.
Instruments, you can see on the left side we have the speedometer, on the right side the RPM going counterclockwise. And we also have a head-up display. At the moment looks quite small, but when you have a map assigned, for example, a route guidance, they will be way bigger, and you can also see the GPS map, a part of it, in the head-up display. So one more close-up at the infotainment unit. By the way, it's fully flicker-free on real life for the eyes. Again, with a good processor, it goes quite fast to zoom in and out. That's no problem. Again, you can also use the touchscreen, but then again, you have the possibility to use the touchscreen or the lower button. You connect your phone via Bluetooth, that's possible, or wireless CarPlay is available, but just CarPlay, not Android Auto. Rear view camera together with a drone view from above. That's quite interesting, and I can also pick the different sides here, for example, to check out what's going on right there, that I don't damage those rims. Get in the rear. Well, you see the door doesn't open too wide, so that can be a little bit problematic if you want to install child seats. Then, I mean, this is the seat as I would be driving. Yes, those are very comfortable, also very thick seats, so this is hardly any legroom left, this foot kicking mechanism. And in three ways it opens like this, in this split way. This lower part here, I can also, just take a seat and have a picnic or something. I can So in this way you have the maximum setup of 1860 liters, and that looks quite good. Well, I've driven some highway stuff earlier, and just cruise control on long-term run, because I want to see what decent mileage could I possibly get with this 3-liter turbo petrol engine when you're driving really steady and rolling or being in traffic a little bit, not really forcing the issue. And that is about 29 mpg, so that would be 28, 29 mpg, something like that. That would be 9 liters on 100 kilometers. Overall, considering the size of the vehicle, this is quite decent, because some mid-size sedans or compact sedans with petrol engines consume that kind of fuel. Of course, if you hammer the throttle a little bit more or have some off-road situations, the consumption will go up. So here at the moment, the road is not that good, but we have the air suspension that is evening out the bumps very well. Overall, the sound insulation has been improved a lot. This one is, to me, one of the biggest differences to the predecessor so far. It's a super silent ride, and I can recommend the air suspension. I feel that it's not really that soft, so if you compare it to other air suspension, they still remain with a sporty setup. Actually, when I want an air suspension, I would like it a little bit softer, but that's of course a matter of preference. If you want the sportiest ride in this car, you have to go for the adaptive M suspension. Then you'll have the stiffest ride if you pick the sports mode. You can also go then with normal or the comfort mode, and then it also will be softer because, as I said, it is an adaptive suspension. And of course, I always tend to say it's never bad to buy the base version of the vehicle, because also the base BMW suspensions are really very good. So the driving feel and suspensions, that's what BMW does best. They've done things they don't do that well maybe than others, but driving wise, driving fun and suspensions, that's where they're really king of the game. And so you'll also be just fine with the base version. The German entry price, by the way, in US price will be similar, just above 60,000 euros or dollars then. And if you pick, for example, a bigger engine or some extras, you can easily climb up over 100k. That's really expensive, but it's not really different if we think about an Audi Q7 or a Mercedes GLE or the Lexus RX. They are all very, very expensive. That was already 52, so pretty quick. And since the all-wheel drive also has a smooth distribution, it feels kind of good and also, let's say, equalized. It's not that you get this massive push from the rear or you're being pulled from the front extremely. It always remains with a rear wheel bias, that all-wheel drive, but also gives you some more torque on the front wheels. So we have a very good acceleration, then very quick. At the same time, also good to bear, if you think the gravitational forces that are being applied to you. So that's pretty cool. And you see this engine does a lot of things right. You have enough power. The mileage is still quite okay, and nice sound also while accelerating. At the same time, silent when you want it to be silent. And now, some highway driving. Really decent sound. So because when we drive a little bit faster, we can also tell you more about the sound insulation once more and about those assistance systems on the highway. So here we go. It's always irritating for me, by the way, when I drive in the US with a US spec vehicle, that the side mirrors are zoomed in. That's pretty irritating. I more prefer the normal mirror as we have it in Europe. So here now we are at 70 mph. So remember 60 miles or 62 miles an hour is 100 kilometers. So 70 mph would be something like 110, 115 kilometers, something like that. I mean, it's the usual highway speed in most of the countries, maybe a little bit faster. And you see, I don't have to raise my voice that much. It's still pretty silent, even if a truck is overtaking me now. So that's a very comfortable ride. Now I can activate again the cruise control. Set it here at the steering wheel. Here you can also see those yellow triangles. They are yellow, by the way, not red. So yellow triangles when something would be appearing in the blind spot. So let me just move over that it appears for you. Now the next guy moved over. I mean, we have 4 lanes here, pretty luxurious. So here we have some Chevrolet Cruze or something coming. The small one. How was it called? The small one. There it is, the yellow triangle. Here we go. Spark. The Cruze is the bigger one, right? So, and now I also have this green steering wheel in the head-up display, and that means that this active steering is activated. So theoretically the car would drive itself now. Yeah, but that's not allowed. So I have to keep my hands on the steering wheel. But just to show you that, when I'm not really forcing the steering wheel somewhere, and we are in the left corner now, and so it's really gradually adjusting everything. And of course, very soon the car will stop. It's like, Thomas, take your hands on the steering wheel, don't do anything. So there it is, the yellow steering wheel, and then I have to take my hands on the steering wheel again, or the system would deactivate. So, and this active lane keeping system, when you set it yourself with the cruise control, works very, very well. And you can so much relax with that one. So yes, you still check the traffic and stuff, still have your hands on the steering wheel, but you can just relax more, you don't have to react on everything. So, that's really cool. By the way, you maybe have seen this black unit there in the instrument. That's actually a camera, and this goes even further, because in the US and in China it is allowed that this car drives really autonomously in traffic jam situations. And then the camera is checking basically that you still look to the front to check the traffic, because you have to do that so that like texting, smartphone, looking to the right, chatting with the co-driver or something. That's really interesting. And this traffic situation, and the same goes for the lane changing, because when you hear, for example, when you hold this turning indicator, I did not change this, I did not steer actually now, that was the car. So there's this automatic semi-piloting lane changing.
So what about this generation, the 4th generation of the X5? The exterior, for sure, a very strong one, the strongest one so far, but surely also an evolution. The interior, more refined, they stepped up the game in the build quality, that's really great. You have a lot of very smooth solutions, then also more digitalized, that's for sure, but in some cases also quite complicated when you think about the infotainment system software. Also, I find it a little disturbing that the rear legroom is not sufficient for the size of that vehicle. Still, it's possible to drive there with good comfort with 4 adults. And, well, driving is the specialty of a BMW, and that also accounts for the X5. It drives so well. Today here with the air suspension, a smooth ride, but not as smooth as you would, for example, have it with, like a Mercedes GLE or Volkswagen Touareg. They are more in a soft way. Here you still have an air suspension which still can be driven in a sporty way. That's the strategy that BMW follows. And if you want it even sportier, then you would go with the adaptive M suspension. Definitely this generation is so super silent in the ride. A very surprisingly silent ride. And of course you are like a king of the road, the full-size SUV feeling.
And if you have this rear axis steering optional, then you can also reduce the turning circle, for example, to make it a little bit more agile. And there will also be some cool functions Brian showed you in his review already, the static review, where you can, for example, fold back the rear floor, the back cover for the trunk. So cool solutions they have invented there to make it even more flexible for that.